Natassia here, and I've got a self-love video for you guys today where I'm going to talk a little bit about ways to let go of embarrassment when you make mistakes, right? Sometimes we can be a little bit hard on ourselves whenever we make mistakes, even small ones, like at work, in public, in front of new people, in front of friends. And we just need to learn to be a little bit kinder to ourselves because everyone makes mistakes. So this video was actually inspired by a comment left by one of my subscribers, so thank you. I always get inspiration from your feedback and comments that you leave on my videos. So this comment is from Noodle. First of all, love that username. And Noodle wrote, "Hi, I really love your videos and can really relate to your journey with mental health. But I wonder how you deal with making mistakes. And I don't mean big mistakes, but things like saying something a bit wrong in a presentation and feeling like everything went wrong. It's something I struggle with, and I wonder if it's anything you have dealt with. P.S. I love the sequin pants." Thank you, I love the sequin pants too. That was from my sequin pants video where I stepped outside of my comfort zone and wore some sequins out. But thank you so much for the comment, Noodle. And you know what I found interesting after I read that comment is, like, again, how being open and sharing our experiences makes us feel less alone, and like, I'm not the only one this happens to, right? Noodle, I can tell you right now, that has happened to me so many times. I have made so many mistakes in my life, and I can guarantee to you that pretty much everybody has. Like, I doubt there's one human on this planet that has not even made one mistake, big or small. It's normal. Like, we don't have all the answers. We're not always gonna know everything. And sometimes, like, we'll say something wrong, we'll mess something up, and it's totally normal. So yes, it's happened to me many times at school, at work, on dates, with friends, where you like do something or say something and you're like, oh my God. And then you just hold on to it and you're constantly replaying it in your head, and then you're laying in bed and you keep thinking about it and you're like, why did I do that? Like, why did I make that mistake? Can you relate? I've been there many, many times. And I think part of the reason why we hold on sometimes to like these tiny mistakes is I think a lot of us still feel like we need to be perfect, or that we need to do our best, right? I even say that, like, be the best version of yourself that you can every day, depending on what your energy or your bandwidth is. Like, show up as your best at whatever capacity that is. But still, being the best doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, because that's just not possible. And the same with being perfect. There's no such thing as being perfect. So if you're a perfectionist, I know this may hurt to hear, but you are not perfect, and you will never be perfect because it's just not possible. And this is coming from somebody who was a severe perfectionist, and that can be a whole other video, let me tell you. But I feel like that's why we hold on to these mistakes that we make so much. Like, I messed up. Why did I do that? Because we feel like we just need to be perfect all the time. But humans make mistakes. You make mistakes, your friends, your family, everybody does. So we need to like let go of that need. If that's part of the reason, we need to let go of that need to be perfect, because it's just not possible to just never make mistakes, right? So that's really the first tip, is if you're being a little too hard on yourself when you're making mistakes, think it's like, are you a bit of a perfectionist? Are you being this hard on yourself because you feel like this need that you always have to be the best or be perfect? And that can be a whole nother video, but I think it's important to recognize like if that's causing you to be a little too hard on yourself when you make mistakes. And then the other thing is the main tip, and this helps me a lot, is beating it down with logic. That helps me with a lot of my issues whenever I'm holding on to a small mistake that I've made. So there's several things that you can ask yourself. One is, if a friend was coming to me and explaining to me about this mistake that they made, would I be as hard on them as I'm being on myself right now? I truly hope not, because you wouldn't want them to feel worse, right? You'd probably tell them it's not that big of a deal. You know, people make mistakes. So say the same thing to yourself. It's not a big deal. It's not a life or death situation. Sometimes people make mistakes, including me, and that's okay. And then another question that I always ask myself is holding on to this embarrassment and shame doing me any good? Like, is it making me feel better? Am I feeling happy from it? Is it helping me grow? Is it helping me overcome the embarrassment? Let me tell you, the answer to that question is probably no. Because holding on to that embarrassment isn't gonna serve you well. Like, it's not going to do anything for you except make you even more embarrassed or feel stressed or anxious because of that experience and that little mess up, that you're just going to end up feeling even worse about it. So that question always helps me, is holding on to this embarrassment doing anything good for me? And then when you recognize that no, it isn't, it kind of helps you let go. And then the second thing that's really helped me and helped me shift my mindset is learning that making mistakes are an opportunity to learn and grow. Even if it's something small, like, that doesn't mean that you failed or you're awful or awkward or anything. You just made a mistake. Whoops, it happens. Like, is there something that you can learn from it? Is there something that you can do in the future? Like, oh, okay, well, maybe next time in the future when this happens, I'll think of doing this instead. Here's a great real world example that happened to me maybe, I don't know, I think a few months ago. And this was at work. So I work remote, but I have a lot of Zoom meetings and meetings where I have to present a presentation. And this was, I think, my first or second time presenting at this new job. And I had my slides, like my presentation ready. I had taken notes on the slides themselves so that as I'm presenting, I could read the notes and remember, you know, the points and highlights that I wanted to talk about. Except I decided that day to not work from home, but work from my parents' house, which is like, okay, what's the big deal? Let me tell you. I have a monitor here at my house. So I have two screens, my laptop and then my monitor. I don't have that at my parents' house. So once I started sharing my screen and presenting, I realized I couldn't see my notes on the screen. And I was freaking out. I had a little bit of a panic when I noticed that, and I was trying to toggle it off and see if I could see my notes, and I couldn't. So I was like, well, this is happening. I'm not gonna be able to see the notes and I don't have them memorized, so I'm just gonna have to wing this. And I did, and it was an hour-long presentation, and I felt like it was 5 hours long because I was so stressed during it. And it ended, and it wasn't bad, but I was like, oh, there was so much that I wanted to say that I couldn't. and like additional like numbers and data that I had that I couldn't like pull up because I didn't have my notes. And afterwards, like once it ended, I was like, oh my God, that was awful. Like what a stressful experience. I knew that was not the best presentation I had ever done. But after like thinking about it and being embarrassed for a few minutes, I was like, well, you know what? I'll have another chance to present like in a few weeks, and then I'll just do better next time. And next time I learned to have double monitors and not go work from somewhere else outside of my house when I have to do these presentations. So small mistake, and I could have built it up and gotten severe like stress from it. And then the next time I would present, I'd probably be freaking out. But I decided to let it go. It's like, oh, well, you know, what could I do? I've learned, and now I'll just try better next time. So that's an example that recently happened. So, and I have so many, guys. I have made so many mistakes, and it's totally normal. So why, like, if you're constantly holding on to every little mistake you make, you're just gonna be a ball of stress, and you don't need that because, like I said, every single person makes mistakes. And part of moving on from that, besides like accepting and telling yourself like, I'm just a normal human, everybody makes mistakes, is also learning to forgive yourself for making mistakes. Like, yes, I did make a mistake, and I'm not going to be hard on myself for it because it's normal to make mistakes. And if anything, I'll just reflect and see if there's anything I can learn from it or something I can do differently next time. And it's just so important to just learn to like forgive yourself, because that really helps you let go. Just accepting I made a mistake. It's okay. It happens. I can let go of it and forgive myself. Because again, if you don't forgive yourself, you're just gonna keep holding on to it. Just like I was saying about my experience a few months ago with my presentation mishap. I could have just held that over my head and been like, oh my God, I should have known better. Like, what was I thinking? This, like, how could you make a mistake like that, Natassia? This isn't the first time you've given a presentation. But no, I was like, you know what? I totally missed that I would need 2 monitors. Oh well, you know, stuff happens, and now I know better for next time, and it's okay. I make mistakes just like everybody else, but I can also learn from them. So that's it. Like, just being really kind to yourself and logical and asking, would I be this hard on somebody else as I'm being on me? Is holding on to this mistake doing me any good? Is it helping me in any way? And then reflecting and thinking like, well, what can I learn from this? Like, is there something that I can do differently next time? Is there something that I learned from this experience? And then just learning to accept that it's okay to make mistakes and forgive yourself for it, because it's normal. I can say, as somebody who was a perfectionist for a very long time, I was always on edge and so hard on myself whenever I made a mistake, and it was so hard for me to let go, because it's almost like I was tying my worth to my output and whether I made mistakes or not. So I was like, oh, I should be better than this. Like, how could I make such a silly mistake? But things happen. We're not always on our A game, right? Some days we're tired, some days we're stressed. Sometimes it's a new experience. It's something that you've never done before, and you're not going to be perfect at everything you do for the first time, right? So you just need to give yourself some permission to make mistakes and learn from them, whether they're big or they're small. Because if you keep holding on to every tiny little mistake you make, it's not going to do you any good. it's just going to make you feel worse for something that everybody does. We all make mistakes. It's normal. We're human and we're not perfect, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I hoped this video helped you in some way, especially if it was on a day where you really needed to hear this message. Let go of those mistakes, no matter how big or small. We can always learn from them, and we just need to brush them off and be like, it's okay, it happens. We all go through this. I'm not the only one who makes mistakes, and I would never hold it against somebody else that I love and make them feel bad for their mistakes. So I should do the same for myself. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to this channel and you enjoyed this video, I post videos about self-love and fashion every week, so you can go check those out on my channel as well. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you subscribed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what other videos you would like me to do, or if there's any other topics I can help you out with. And I will see you in the next video. Bye! Love you!